Well, it's been a long time coming for the Tata Motors Curvv concept. We've already seen two iterations of it. One was the EV, the other was the ICE version. And now we are closing in on the launch on August 7th in India. So a lot of work has gone through it, and about 4 years of work gone into making the car. And to talk about that and a lot more, with me is Aurelien Doisy, the head of design Europe, Tata Motors. So Aurelien, thank you so much for
No problem.
for your time.
No worries.
It's great to see the cars here. As I mean, you've been through iterations of these with different teams. Let me start by asking you how important a collaboration this is between all the three teams involved in this. And could you tell us more on that front?
So, while mediatically speaking, most of the time we put one person in front of the cameras or with you guys, the reality is we couldn't do anything by ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, design in general, especially designing automobiles, is very down to a massive collaboration between a lot of stakeholders, whether the designers, obviously, but the engineers, the marketeers, and a lot of that to create that balanced product that will appeal to customers and resonate with the market. But within design, what we do is the three studios have got different skills that matters at different time of the process.
Right.
So what we try to do is try to leverage that as much as we can.
Yeah.
And some expertise will come early in the process, some others towards the end. But the idea is that we leverage as much as we can the skills we've got in the studio. Of course.
Yeah. A Coupe SUV, a different kind of impact that it has when you first see the car.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you either fall in love or you hate that.
Yeah.
It's a difficult thing to balance. How was that achieved?
So the beauty of having the three studios is that we got essentially a finger on the pulse of each of the markets, and we see some elements happening in some markets, and sometimes it doesn't come in one market, but sometimes it's actually coming a little bit earlier, and you therefore can see the premises of what's happening in that market. India used to be like that, but actually it's changing now. It's pretty much a global scene anyway.
Yeah.
So what we try to do in that sense is okay, we love SUVs. You can go everywhere. They're functional. It's like you've got that robustness built in, etc. But at the same time, we love the emotions that a super coupe or some kind of sporty car, dynamic. Everybody was like, whoa, as a kid. So this is great. So what we wanted to bring to the customers, and honestly, all designers here were all excited about doing this type of vehicle, is to try to bring, like we did in the concept back then, but trying to bring that to production, bring the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
I want a car that is robust, that can go anywhere, that is actually functional still, but also that brings me the emotions and the dynamics that I love in sports cars. And so if you can crack that problem and get a solution that is actually, like I said, best of both worlds, we're winning. And in that sense, this is the feeling we wanted in design. And when we pushed for that with the management, we got a good response from them. And then obviously some homework needed to be done, but I think everybody was on board. It was literally, well, I'm winning on both ends. Why should I say no? So that's the idea. It really was started like that.
No, of course. I mean, you take a look at the car and you immediately kind of react to it. That's what you want as a designer
exactly.
as well. You spoke about it being robust. Now that's a point that I'm going to take forward. Safety regulations across the world now are very, very strict, stringent. When you were making the concept, taking that into consideration also mattered a lot, because you knew that at the end of the day, most of the concept might move to the production version. How important is it to get that right at the concept stage?
So when I started at Tata Motors, the regulations were, let's be honest, airbags were accessories.
Yeah.
You opt to pay for it or not. Now it's obviously mandatory, good. But within Tata Motors, it was always like, we need to be ahead of that curve and really try to bring not only cool-looking vehicle, but also a safe one.
Yeah.
So that was one. Then when I say robust, for me, it's all the qualities that you expect from a vehicle where it's going to last, you're going to still feel strong about it, in a few years after you purchase the vehicle. And then when we do the concepts, yes, of course, there's a bit of like dreaming. We'd love to do it that way, etc. But we're no amateurs either. The idea is that we know what will work and we know what sort of parameters we want to have in the production car, and therefore we take that in consideration right away, deal with the issue. It's like being a designer, not a stylist. So you take on and you embrace the constraints, work with it. That's where the creativity is usually the best anyway, and you just basically bypass the problem. You find a way to resolve that problem, and yeah. Concept cars, we tend to say, and Martin is the first one to advocate that, we're all on the same page. Every time we see you guys at the motor shows or events like that, the first question we get is, how close to production is that concept? And half the time we're trying to say, as close as we can to 100%. That's the idea for us. And we want that. Honestly, genuinely, we want that, because I have no interest in doing just a nice idea that will die very quickly. The idea is that you take whatever is that cool vehicle, that concept, and you take it into production as is, or as much as it can be. And so therefore we deal with all that those expectations of safety right away.
Yeah, and it's not a market specific thing. You'll have to build a global product so that to ensure that it goes out in other markets too. One final question to you: which aspect of design do you think the Curvv manages to just star in? Your favorite, maybe.
Well, there's something to be said about being a bit of a disruptor, or I wouldn't say early adopters, but seeing a context that gives you an opportunity. And as designers, you got to remember, every day when we come into work, our head has got to be at least 3-4 years in advance, if not more. So we've got to think of what customers will want in 5 years' time, and we have to think of it with an extra life cycle on the vehicle, so another 4-5 years minimum. So we've got to try to think ahead, and obviously everybody wants a crystal ball and knowing what will be the future, but we don't. But we have to find all those ingredients in what we see every day and be able to actually digest all those signals and make it something that is actually tangible for the products. The idea here is really trying to get that disruption, and if I'm one element I'd like to be is I'm kind of curious to see the Indian market reaction to having a vehicle that is bringing all the aspirations and the attributes of an SUV with a fairly elegant and sporty dynamic kind of silhouette. This is quite disrupting, because we would be ideally I think first to market in India with that type of silhouette. I'm curious to see the response. Honestly, this is something we've seen in Europe. We've seen it in North America. We're starting to see it in China and Asia. In that sense, India is obviously a specific market, and for good and bad in some ways. In the way the response is really like for us designers is hit or miss, and that's great because it's challenging. But I'm pretty sure we got something here that could be very interesting to customers, because again, the functionalities and the emotions at the same time. Yeah.
You won't have to wait long for that impression, of course, because August 7th is when the car
the
comes.
Pressure is on. But
pressure is totally on.
But no, I mean, we're confident. It's a good product. I think it will be polarizing, to some people. I understand that. But I think when people will see it, they should be pretty pleased with it. And as we see more and more on the market, I think it's going to open the door for a lot more, interesting, silhouettes, going forward. We don't need to be necessarily completely traditional, and we're not giving up, a lot, by actually trying different things like that. So the functionalities, etc., is still there. So should be interesting. But I'm eager.
But polarizing as it may be, it is a conversation starter. So you've at least won that battle.
Yeah, no, exactly. And in the polarization, we see the world is polarizing. As we see every day, there's a lot of different topics here and there. But polarization is not a bad thing. Yeah. It just needs to be handled and understood and articulated so people understand. If not, we would do all the same things, and everybody would look the same, etc. So at the beginning, it's normal to polarize. Right. But then, if it's done right, that polarization will be understood, and therefore it become, you know, something that people will accept.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing to be polarizing. Again, done right. So that's what we aim to do, obviously.
Yeah.
So
All the best to you and your team. We look
you.
forward to the launch very soon.
I will definitely be in touch.
Thank you so much, Aurelien.
Thank you very much. Thank you.